Hello and welcome to the For We Are Many podcast. My name is Rob. Still muted. There you go. I got you.
There we go. Hi, I'm Trisha, also known as the Zen Motherfucker. And you cut off those last couple measures of the song, Rob.
Oh, really? It was done on my end. That's weird.
Oh, maybe there's a lag between your signal and mine. Also, Restream called you me again.
Oh, that's awesome.
I know, right? Gotta love it.
How's it going, James? Doing good? Enjoying the, well, I guess I don't know what weather you got there. I think it stopped raining, actually.
I wish it would start raining here again. Only without the huge wind gusts.
Right. I'd like to take the moment to ask everybody to consider sharing the stream with your friends. We are on YouTube, Twitch, Facebook, and stuff. We are on stuff. Twitter.
All the social medias.
TikTok. We don't really use TikTok. We got to get better at it. If you are a TikToker and you want to help us create TikToks with communist intent, hit us up.
I like that. Communist intent.
I am sharing the stream to some groups right now. If you all could take the time to do the same. Every share, every reaction, every comment drives us up in the algorithms and we get more viewers.
Right? I'm hopping in there and sharing right now too. Get this spread around to some groups. So we got some good shit to discuss tonight. We've actually been able to find out not just a little, but a lot more info about a couple of things that we brought up last week. So we're going to expand on that now that we know a little bit more about the political environments in Japan with dealing with Abe, and in Sri Lanka with their revolutionary action going on right now.
I think it's pronounced Rajapaksa, but I'm not sure. Don't quote me on that.
Okay.
We'll also be talking about flooding in India because we can't go a week without a climate change related weather incident.
That, yeah.
And we're going to dive a little bit into the history of of the ruling family, I guess you could say, in Sri Lanka as well.
Right.
Because they, well, without giving too much of it away right now, they basically were heroes. They led their country to victory in their 26-year-long civil war. And once they got power, they abused it. Tale as old as time.
Yep. Also, Rob, since those links disappeared out of here when...
Yeah, I'm going to need your links too.
Can you pop those in Slack so that way I can pull those up too? I'm still sharing around to other groups to try to get some more viewers on board here.
Yeah. Also, in other news, I mean, I'm just going to go over this real quick because I don't want to take too much time out of our show talking about fucking January 6th anymore. But there's been some new developments in that case over the past week. And I mean, we talked briefly last week about how Trump lunged for the steering wheel. And I want to say that it's a shame that Chris Farley is not still alive to do a skit about it on like Saturday Night Live or something, because he's the only guy that I can picture playing Trump lunging for the steering wheel.
Yeah. I think it would be hilarious too. Yeah.
Yeah. Fat man in a big car. No. Anyway, so Trump contacted one of the witnesses by phone the day after they testified. That's kind of a no-no. And an entire plan on behalf of the Trump-led GOP to, like systematically, basically they wanted Congress and Mike Pence to send the election back to the states so the states could then overturn the election in Trump's favor. So, not only is that something that he has repeatedly said, well, I guess he hasn't really backed down from the big lie, but I mean, he tried to make it sound like this was all spontaneous, and it wasn't. It was planned out literally months ahead of time, which
they had merch.
Well, yeah, I mean, the fucking protesters had merch, but I mean, like, the Trump administration and congressional GOP members planned this out months in advance, how they were going to refuse to certify the election, and that Mike Pence would send it back to the states instead of, rubber stamping the certification, and that the states would flip the election in Trump's favor. Even in our lack of a democracy, that's not how this shit works.
Right. We need to do away with the Electoral College. We need to do away with anything that takes away from one person, one vote. If you don't have the popular vote,
a good place to fucking start.
Huh?
I said the Supreme Court's a good fucking place to start.
That too. Unelected positions who get to try to make decisions for the entire fucking country, fuck them too.
For life.
Mm-hmm.
For life. So, I guess I'm going to jump into the Indian flooding. I have a video. It's just a short little 1.5-minute video from the South China Morning Post. Before I start the video, I want to say that this shit's been going on there for a few weeks now, and every time that it looks like it's starting to get better, it gets worse. There is a major dam in India that a lot of the flooding in the past 2 days, maybe 3 days now, is from. They are letting out as much water as they can from this reservoir, and it's a foot away from capping. So these catastrophic floods would be a lot worse if the dam were to be topped.
Right.
Just for perspective. But anyway, onto the video.
It's already fucking waist deep, even with them trying to control how much is flowing out at once.
Yeah. I mean, they came to a realization that the dam was going to top, and they put out an emergency flash flood warning, and I don't know how many people it was that they've evacuated so far, but I mean, it's a good amount. I know that everywhere in India is very densely populated, but like the amount of water is just insane, and I mean, there's several rivers flooding. And I would be surprised if that was the only dam that's at risk right now.
Right.
But anyway, on to the video.
हम इधर से 50 साल से इधर से रह रहे हैं, लेकिन कभी भी पानी नहीं आ रहा था। अभी ये इस साल पानी इतना है कि ये टॉयलेट का पानी है सब, इसमें ही हम गुजारा करते हैं। क्या करने का, किधर जाने का, हमको तो दूसरा घर नहीं है।
It's absolutely insane.
There we go. There's already somewhere around 400 people who have died because of this.
And that's before the floodwaters have receded. That number is not going to just be 400. That is, as of right now, over 400 confirmed dead.
Right.
And I mean, I don't know what that would bring the flooding total for the season up to, but I mean, there has been, crop failures because the fields have washed out. There has been shitloads of people displaced. I don't even know how many. But I mean, the Indian Coast Guard is rescuing people by helicopter, like from rooftops and shit.
Right.
I have a couple more videos from this article that I'm about to read from, but I'll show you the videos first. Oh, that's weird.
What the
Why
hell?
did it open like that? Is that really just an image? Oh, wait.
Yeah.
Okay. I figured it out. This video doesn't have any sound, but I mean, you see the situation they're in. The floodwater is everywhere. I mean, these people have no choice but to, climb on their rooftops and pray like hell that somebody's going to fucking get them.
Right. And that's got to be fucking scary, trying to get hoisted up into a chopper holding your baby.
Right.
Is they're getting some people evacuated to safe ground? Like, is that cattle? That's cattle. Holy shit.
Yeah. For those of you that don't know, cows can swim, meaning if you watch them, they are swimming. That means that this floodwater is deeper than a cow is tall.
I hope those cows are able to find somewhere shallow enough to actually stand up before they drown from exhaustion, though.
Yeah.
Look at that.
Look at how fast that water is going, too.
Right, and it's all the way up to the fucking soffit over that doorway. What the fuck?
Yeah. This is absolutely crazy. I mean, I feel like I'm becoming desensitized to like flood videos, right? Because I mean, fuck, Hurricane Katrina, Hurricane Sandy, Hurricane Irma. I mean, the last 10 years have had some massive hurricanes here in North America. But I mean, on a global scale, and I mean the sheer catastrophic circumstances of these floods, and I mean they just keep happening more and more and more. And this is I mean, obviously we're not talking about a little bit of rain here, but that's a day of rain. mean, look at those sinkholes.
Dude, this is such an enormous public health risk, not just of drowning, but like all of the sewage that is backing up and filling all of this rainwater with shit.
Well, I mean, it's not even just that, right? Like, I mean, the amount of sediment that's in that, I mean, there has been landslides, there has been washouts, there has been sinkholes created. I mean, the amount of sediment, and you don't know what's in any of that. You don't know what's under that water at all. But you step on a jagged rock and cut yourself, and then there's sewage in the water too. You're looking at a possible septic infection in a couple of days if you don't get fucking proper health care.
Right. Holy fuck. Like, what the hell are people even supposed to do? But climate change ain't real.
The fish, though.
Right.
The fish are like, fuck yeah, land ho.
Yeah, until the waters eventually start to recede and they're left on dry land if they're not swift enough.
Right.
Holy fuck.
Obviously, this is drone footage. Look at the extent of it.
Right.
As far as the eye can see from, probably 20 stories up, judging by the size of those buildings there. As far as the eye can see.
Whole fucking city's a lake now.
But I guess I just want to use the opportunity to say not only that, like, my heart goes out to those people, but we need, as a species, right? I'm not saying the U.S. needs to do something about climate change, or even the UN needs to do something about climate change. The human race needs to do something about climate change. Things like this are happening more often and more often and more often. And it's more severe every time. I mean, last year, I think it was about this time, which makes sense because it would be monsoon season for them as well. But last year, there was massive flooding in China. Mm-hmm. This year, it's India. And I mean, we're talking, like 500-year floods for both.
And we can start throwing that term 500-year floods and 1,000-year floods in very loose quotations because they're happening quite frequently. Last time I checked, even though it might feel like a year ago was 500 fucking years ago, it was one.
Yeah, so that being said, we are into hurricane season in the Gulf of Mexico and the Atlantic Basin. So that being said, if you live in a coastal region, be mindful. Take hurricane threats seriously. I mean, when water is moving like that, whether it's a storm surge or a flooded river, doesn't really matter. When water is moving like that, it's going to suck you under, and that's it.
Right. Those currents are not something to fuck with at all.
All right. Well, do you want to take us into the Abe stuff?
Sure. I'll at least open this with something that might put a smile on some of your faces here. Because, last week when we were discussing this, we weren't quite sure what the political situation was there. But this right here is quite telling. as far as how the people there themselves actually feel about this. And here is a banner put up at a food stand that reads, in celebration of Abby's death, basically, that milk teas are buy one, get one free, and the celebration's lasting for 3 days. They're happy he's gone. Why? Because this motherfucker was a fascist. A
He
straight
wants
up.
to. He wants to bring back Imperial Japan.
Yeah, that. Well wanted. He can't want anything anymore.
Fair
He
enough.
he was he was a member of the Nippon Kaigi, which in English translates to Japan Conference. It's a powerful fascist group within the Japanese elite whose goals include removing foreigners, ending gender equality, revising the Constitution, things like that would not be, beneficial changes to the Constitution. Um, it's just so much. One of the biggest issues that a lot of people have been discussing is him trying to claim that the use of sex slaves during World War II was okay. He was, referring to them as, oh, they're just comfort women. And it's like, no, you took women from other parts of Asia, kidnapped and sex trafficked them. There's nothing okay about that. Nothing at all. So the fact that the people are celebrating this motherfucker's death with buy one, get one free milk teas surprised me. Give me just a second. I've got another source here to pull up, and my signal's loading kind of slow. But this guy was a mess. Total mess. Complete fascist. Just he wanted to literally, like Rob was saying, take them back to, the days of the Japanese Empire. That was part of what his goal was with wanting to make changes to their constitution, was reintroducing the principles of the Japanese Empire. One of his collaborators in the Nippon piece said, quote, "We are dedicated to our conservative cause. We are monarchists. We are for revising the Constitution. We are for the glory of the nation," end quote. The Nippon Kaigi makes up 206 out of 710 seats in their parliament. And another of their goals was to reintroduce a modern version of the state Shinto. Leading members include Fumio Kishida, the current prime minister, Michihisa Kitashirakawa. Sorry, I'm probably destroying that. I'm definitely destroying that name. It's not my forte. He was one of the advisors and the great grandson of the G. Yuzo Kabushima is the Secretary General and probably the most powerful person within the group, and he's a staunch worshiper of the Empire. And that liberal fascist solidarity isn't surprising. What's funnier is that even some of the, quote, left in name only, obviously, politicians mourned his death today. It's, or not today, but, a couple of days ago. From what I'm reading this from, dude, even Hillary Clinton came out thanking this motherfucker for gender equality. The guy who worships the practice of kidnapping women from other parts of Asia and sex trafficking them and calling them comfort women. I highly doubt anything that happened there was much of a comfort to them. And maybe they need to realize that men are not entitled to the comfort of trafficked women. Okay. Fuck you, Clinton, for thanking him for gender equality while he fucking acts as if those weren't war crimes. Just sheer amount of support coming out of America for him, just like every other ultra-nationalist fascist group in the world. It's fucking ridiculous. The CIA alone spent millions to support Japanese right-wing ultranational fascist fucking regimes. This is ridiculous that anybody is actually even out here trying to like, oh, poor Abby. No. How about having some of that empathy for the people there who have had to put up with the fascist fucking regime that they're working on rebuilding? So whatever that guy's motivations were, specifically for taking his ass out, I'm sure they good one. Just this mess. Also, I just noticed Natalie's here. Hi, Natalie. Welcome. Let's see here. I'm scrolling through here. There was more stuff in this feed. Sorry, slow signal here. Give me a second. I'm trying to pull up the other source that I had for this. It's being Pete's. You got anything to add, Rob?
What was that?
You got any commentary so far on this?
I mean, like I was telling James in the comments, that's because he said make Japan emperor warlord again. And I just said that's pretty much the mentality. They want to kick out the foreigners. They want to oppress fucking anyone they can, to be blunt about it. They want to retake territory that they lost after World War II.
Yeah. Claiming that they're liberating.
They want to remilitarize and they want to occupy territory. They literally want to bring back Imperial Japan. Maybe without the emperor, but probably not.
Right. That's the thing. Like they basically operate like a religious cult.
Sounds familiar, fucking, don't it?
Uh-huh. Right? They praise Japanese colonialism, saying it's, supposedly liberating Asia from the West. I mean, it's really...
Which sounds like they tried to steal some rhetoric from the People's Republic of China.
Yep.
I mean, the only Asian country that is offering... The only Asian countries that are offering other Asian countries liberation are the communist ones. Vietnam, the People's Republic of China. North Korea is more domestically focused, but given the sanctions they've been under since the Korean War, what other option do they have? You know damn well that if North Korea had the kind of political clout that China does, they would be using that to spread socialism.
That. Yeah. That's not the same as can be said for other places like this. Basically, the Nippon Kaigi, the Japan conference, is from the land of the sun, which is a conservative Shinto cult to the 70s that, Abe was a member of. So are many of his cabinet members, clearly. It's run by Tadai Takubo, a former journalist turned political scientist. It's got about 38,000 members. That it wields tremendous political influence. Like I was saying a moment ago, like a huge portion of their parliament is members of this fucking cult turned political party. Shinto is a polytheistic and animist religion native to Japan. The state-sponsored Shintoism promulgated here before and during World War II. It also elevated the emperor to the status of a god and insisted that the Japanese were a divine, the Yamato, with all other races considered inferior. Sound familiar? There's a reason why they teamed up with Nazis, because they both saw themselves as the superior race of their region.
And I mean,
So,
they're terrible to their own people. Well, okay, the Imperial Japanese were terrible to their own people, right? Like
right,
the supporters of the emperor basically got to do whatever the fuck they wanted, but the poor farmers in the hills, like, basically just got fucking raided or their shit taken, or and they were looked down on in general. And that
right,
kind of cultural stigma, I knew that it still existed, but I didn't realize that it was, the controlling portion of the government.
yeah, yeah. Um, that I'd have to look it up to be sure as far as numbers, but that's got to be one of the largest political in their entire parliament, if not the largest. It's a third of their parliament. You know, the fucked up shit that they've done. I mean, they've terrorized the actual indigenous Japanese that I knew. With all their shit, they've tried to do classist shit like you were just talking about. It's fascism. It's straight up fucking fascism. So there's
So
no
you know how, like, China's current blend of socialism and capitalism is socialism with Chinese characteristics, right?
yeah,
Well, this party is fascism with Japanese characteristics.
right. Wanting to bring back the monarchy. What the fuck?
Um, but yeah, I mean, it's no wonder that people in his own country aren't that upset about it.
Right. It says here that this state Shinto revival organization espoused patriotism and a return to imperial worship. That's pretty sad when they want to basically make worshiping the crown a fucking religion.
Well, now
What
they want to make it a religion. They want to bring it back as the state religion.
that? Yeah, you did state that better than me. Um, well said. But in its current form, was officially formed in May of 1997 when Nippon Mamoru Kai and a group of right-leaning intellectuals joined forces. And their current goals for this cult is to gut Japan's post-war pacifist constitution, end sexual equality, get rid of foreigners, void pesky human rights laws, everything that you first of out of fascists. um, they've got a parliamentary election held a few days ago on the 10th. So actually, we need to see if we can find anything as far as update on those election results here to see if this cult won their political domination they were seeking. Because if so, it's only going to bring out more actions like this one of people going fuck this enough and fucking shooting them. Nobody wants these fascists in power. Fascists. The common people do not. They don't fucking want this. Yeah, James, exactly. Why go backwards? Why the fuck? Oh, this is sad. It says here that the elections might be a constitutional Brexit deciding whether this country moves forward as a democracy or literally takes a step back to the Meiji era that ended more than a century ago when the emperor was free and freedom of expression was to the interests of the state. The influence of the Nippon Kaigi may be hard for an American to understand on a gut level, but try this. Imagine if future world president Donald Trump belonged to a right-wing evangelical group, let's call it USA Conference, that advocated a return to monarchy, the expulsion of immigrants, the revoking of equal rights for women, restrictions on freedom of speech, and most of his pre-selected political appointees were from the same group. Gee, all the things that we've been bitching about what happened under Trump since 2016. Um, Now imagine that on a larger scale, global.
Well, I mean, to be honest, it is on a larger scale here. It's just not centered around religion. It's centered around capital.
But they're using religion to uphold said capitalism because
Yes.
capitalism
Yes.
doesn't work without having the patriarchy sex shit, without having the racist shit, all of that. And what supports those? What gives the ideological basis for those? List evangelical trash. It's, you know, it's why bell hooks always described it in one full term as, the sexist, racist, capitalist that it is all one fucking thing. Without any of those facets, it doesn't work.
So I want to circle back to James's comment.
Okay.
He said, "Why go backwards? Shouldn't things go forward?" And I replied to that, we apply a scientific lens to history, learn the truth, and synthesize a way out of this mess using the scientific method. That's what Marx called dialectical materialism. We learn from our mistakes as we go. We resynthesize and continue moving forward.
We're never going to reach that meeting people's needs when it comes to the dialectical materialism if we allow fascists to regain control here or anywhere. It'll never happen. They don't give a fuck about dialectical materialism. They don't give a fuck about making sure that everyone actually has a dignified standard of living.
Well, no, they don't. But that we can learn from the past using dialectical materialism, which is our advantage, right?
Yes.
We use that to learn from the past to hopefully, make fewer mistakes. Right?
Just saying, like one of the things that we absolutely need to.
I think you froze.
God damn it. Sorry, my signal's cutting out here.
Yeah.
Fuck. Okay.
Well,
now you might be able to hear me.
Oh, well, I hear you now.
Okay. I was saying that one of the things that we need to take from said analysis of dialectical materialism is to fucking squash fascism any and everywhere that we see it start to. We can't allow that to grow. We have to put a stop to this shit. Other countries aren't going to step in to fucking help us. They're too frightened of our military force. We have to stop this shit that we see popping up right here at home before we can fucking actually do anything about it on a global scale. Right now,
well, and that's the thing. We have to get there on a global scale, right? I mean, yes, we have to fight imperialism at home because that will take pressure off of the rest of the world. Right?
Precisely.
And I mean, the world proletariat is going to have to rise as one to defeat the beast.
Yep. Absolutely. And sadly, with, America being the fucking world police for so many goddamn years, it really is on us to stop it here first so that we can even have that domino effect of others being able to liberate themselves in other parts of the world too. Because as long as American fascism has a stronghold there with military colonization, the fuck, we've got to put a stop to this shit. We have to. We have to. Surely for everyone's survival, it's fucking scary. And especially seeing how much fascism is actually growing their numbers here with these fucking white supremacist groups fucking recruiting and training and shit, and putting a lot of their fucking white trash supremacist group leadership into politics, we have a fucking problem.
A big
It's
one.
been growing for so long, and people have ignored it in their neoliberal shit fucking frame of mind, like, la la la, it's not affecting me. See no evil, hear no evil. And it's like, okay, put your fucking apathy to death. Go fucking kill your apathy and come back and actually do something.
Well, I mean, that's the thing, though, and it's sad to see history repeat itself, but revolutions don't happen until it affects people. I mean, it has been affecting people forever, don't get me wrong, but like, I mean, now the middle class is dying out and they've got the boot to their throat for the first time in their fucking life.
Right. It reminds me of that good old quote of, like, first they came for the communists. So do we need to go through that whole list again? You can't sit by idly on your fucking hands until it affects you and ignore how many other people it's fucking affecting and not give a fuck till it affects you. By then, they've fucking killed off enough numbers to cut down the resistance to their fascism. We've already seen how this plays out.
Well, and I mean, I want to take this moment, I guess, since I'm wearing, I wanted to plug the shirt that I'm wearing anyway, but as
Right.
far as, you know, like organizing our way out of this, we have to form coalitions. Sometimes it's going to be just on a basis of programmatic unity, like, oh, we are fighting for this same specific goal. We can work together on that.
Right. We don't have to agree on every fucking thing, but if we can agree on the basics of where life needs to fucking improve overall for the whole, or the masses, we can get some shit done.
Right. And on top of that, coalition, well, okay, so coalition politics and on the ground organizing, right? So that brings me to the United Panther movement. I mean, you know, basically the UPM is open for anybody who agrees with the 10-point program.
Right.
That's pretty straightforward. The page refreshed. I have to scroll back down to it. I will have the 10-point program.
Okay. I was just about to pull it up too, but if you've already got it on hand.
Well, I thought I did. I'm working on it. But the Second Rainbow Coalition, for example, is, I think, a good step forward, as is the UPM. And we all need to come together to stop fascism. Okay, so number one, we want freedom. We want power to determine the destiny of our Black community. This is for the New African Black Panther Party. The White Panther Party and the UPM are slightly different in their wording, but it all comes back to the same points. We want freedom. We want power. We want full employment for our people. We want an end to the robbery by the capitalists of our Black and oppressed communities. We want decent housing fit for the shelter of human beings. We want education for our people that exposes the true nature of this decadent American society. We want education that teaches us our true history and our role in the present day society. Number 6, we want completely free healthcare for all Black and oppressed people. We want an immediate end to police brutality and murder of Black people, other people of color, and all oppressed people inside the United States. We want an immediate end to all wars of aggression, meaning leave Russia alone. We want freedom for all Black and poor oppressed people now held in U.S. federal, state, county, city, and military prisons and jails. We want trials by a jury of our peers for all persons charged with so-called crimes under the laws of this country. We want land, bread, housing, education, clothing, justice, peace, and people's community control of modern technology.
Yep.
These are pretty straightforward. You deserve to live.
Right. And the right to self-determination. The right to a dignified fucking life. That if it's necessary for your survival, that's something you should have access to.
And if for whatever reason you're not able to hook up with somebody in the UPM to start organizing with them, there are other ways that you can support them. You can go to the New African Black Panther Party's People's Store. I just dropped the link in the chat. It's facebook.com/NABPP, the People's Store.
Stand up and show the people your shirt.
I will. Hold on. But they have a variety of different designs, and depending on which shirt you get, the donation, or there will be a donation made to either the New African Black Panther Party's Hassan Shakur Community Center or the White Panther Party's High Thurman Intercommunal Garden.
Right. And in both places, they are setting this stuff up to feed the community. Out at the Hassan Shakur Community Center, they've already been feeding hundreds,
like
if not
1,200 people each time.
Each time that they open up the food stand out front. Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's what's being built, is in the works at the High Thurman Intercommunal Garden, to be able to feed people in that part of Indiana too. So that's where your money's going to go if you hop on there and order some of these shirts. Also, any of you who have seen my blue United Panther Movement tank top, they have those on there too. But there's also a whole new line that Kat just kicked out with Che Guevara, with Assata Shakur. Yep, and read them the quote. I love it. Yes.
At the risk of seeming ridiculous, let me say that the true revolutionary is guided by a great feeling of love. It is impossible to think of a genuine revolutionary lacking this quality. But I mean, they're available in a variety of different colors as well. But yeah, I wanted, a nice deep red to match my.
Nice.
It makes the quote kind of hard to read, but I mean, does Che's face not look great in red?
Yes. Che's face looks great in any form. That man was hot. Anyway.
Oh my God.
Hey, I'm just saying. I mean, sexy as fuck, and his praxis only added more to that. Gotta give props for it.
But yeah, so speaking of the UPM's education program, tomorrow will be at 4 Eastern, will be a discussion on the 8-week course. And then the following Sunday, I already created an event. Go to our page, RSVP to it, so you get a reminder. Share it with people. Since we're restarting the class, I really want to try to bring in a bunch of new people. And not only is it good for the education factor alone, it's also good for the networking. I mean, you never know. Somebody might be talking about what they're doing in an area that's close to you. Or if you're already doing work that, that matches with the 10-point program, make the connections and fucking get more people involved. Get involved with the national organization so we can organize together.
Right.
But yeah, a big focus right now is specifically feeding the people. Gas prices are outrageous. Food prices are outrageous. And don't even get me fucking started on housing.
God, yeah. Which also is another thing that is in the works to be addressed at the Hassan Shakur Community Center too. We can update you as that stuff starts to come to fruition, but that is one of the goals there too with the fundraising, is to start working on making sure people have adequate housing that is actually healthy to live in. Yeah. Goals.
Yeah.
Because
And,
in order to act a successful revolution, we must build the dual power first. We must make sure that we are not dependent on a system that is fucking crumbling.
by the day.
Yeah. Capitalism is fucking eating itself right now, and it's eating you too, whether
I think you were saying whether
realize.
you think so or not. There you go. Okay. You froze for a second, but I think you froze again. Wow.
Gotta love the low signal.
I heard that. So moving on to the next topic, we have, I guess I'll start with this AP article. It's a brief history of the rise and fall of Sri Lanka's president, who, by the way, fled Sri Lanka on Wednesday and then sent his resignation letter back, right? Because he was concerned about being arrested by the new administration, whoever that may be. They flew to the capital of the Maldives. I believe they are now in Singapore. But Singapore has already said they are not going to grant him asylum. They're not doing that. So yeah. Anyway, his departure came 4 days after massive crowds broke into his official residence and occupied his seaside office, and he pledged to leave the country. Protesters also stormed the residence of Prime Minister Ranil. I'm not going to butcher his last name.
Why not? I butchered a few a little while ago.
Wickremesinghe. I that's probably not right at all.
I'm sorry, the dogs are tripping the fuck out. Sorry, my dogs are tripping. I think they need to pee again. I will be right back.
All right. Who has said he will leave once a new government is in place. Here's a closer look at the rise and fall. For decades, the powerful landowning Rajapaksa family dominated local politics in the rural southern district before Mahinda Rajapaksa was elected president in 2005. Appealing to the nationalist sentiment of the island's Buddhist Sinhalese majority, he led Sri Lanka into a triumphant victory over ethnic Tamil rebels in 2009, which ended a 26-year brutal civil war that had divided the country. He and his younger brother Gotabaya, formerly a powerful official and military strategist in the Ministry of Defense, have denied accusations of atrocities committed during the war. Mahinda remained in office until 2015 when he lost to the opposition led by his former aide. But the family made a comeback in 2019 when Gotabaya won the presidential election on a promise to restore security in the wake of the Easter Sunday terrorist suicide bombings that killed 290 people. He vowed to bring back the muscular nationalism that had made his family popular with the Buddhist majority and to lead the country out of an economic slump with a message of stability and development. Instead, he made a series of fatal mistakes that ushered in an unprecedented crisis. As tourism plunged in the wake of the bombings and foreign loans on controversial development projects, including a port and an airport in the president's home region, needed to be repaid, Rajapaksa didn't listen to economic advisors and pushed through the largest tax cuts in the country's history. Does this sound fucking familiar? It was meant to spur spending, but critics warned it would slash the government's finances. Pandemic lockdowns and an ill-advised ban on chemical fertilizers, I would say that's debatable. It probably shouldn't have been initiated the way it was, but that's probably the better way to go. But anyway, further hurt the fragile economy. The country soon ran out of money and couldn't repay huge debts. Then there were shortages of food, cooking gas, fuel, medicine, which stoked public anger at what many saw as mismanagement, corruption, oh my God, and nepotism. The family's unraveling began in April when growing protests forced 3 Rajapaksa relatives, including the finance minister, to quit their cabinet post and another to leave his ministerial job. In May, government supporters attacked protesters in a wave of violence that left 9 dead. The anger of the protesters turned against Mahinda Rajapaksa, who was pressured to resign as prime minister and took refuge on a heavily fortified naval base. But Gotabaya refused to go, triggering chants on the streets of go home. Instead, he saw his savior in that name that I butchered last time, a seasoned opposition politician whom he brought in to steer the country out of the abyss. Ultimately, however, he lacked the political heft and public support needed to get the job done. So basically, the Rajapaksa family came out of the Civil War as heroes. They had wide popular support. They fanned the flames of nationalism, but I mean, they ended a 26-year war. I can see why they had public support at first. But then when they got power, they ruled with an iron fist. They oppressed a significant portion of the population. And it just, over time, people said enough is enough. And it led to huge celebrations in the streets, not to mention at the presidential mansion, which, I mean, I saw fucking liberals on Twitter saying how terrifying it was, that there's just a bunch of random people in the presidential mansion. That's not how democracy works. But it kind of is. Historically, this is what happens when you oppress your people. They're going to revolt. Self-determination. Exactly, Natalie. I can't even, the party that happened to the presidential mansion after he fled, oh my God. We're talking thousands of people in the mansion, in the pool, in the yard, just chilling, having a good time. They're singing, they're dancing. There's not anything violent happening. They are celebrating that for the first time in a long time, they have something resembling freedom. Yes, Rajapaksa is now in Singapore. I was right. Sri Lanka is in the grip of economic chaos as it faces an acute shortage of food, fuel, and other basic supplies. So the resignation paves the way for the country to begin the process of electing a new president. The Speaker of Parliament said on Friday that he accepted the resignation, which he received late on Thursday. He's called for Parliament to convene on Saturday to start the process of electing a new leader. That doesn't mean it's going to happen right away. The Prime Minister has been sworn in as acting president. Parliament has up to a month to elect a new leader who could be the Prime Minister. So yeah, he originally flew to the Maldives. He fled to Singapore from there on Thursday. He is believed to have wanted to leave Sri Lanka before stepping down in order to avoid the possibility of arrest under a new administration. The embattled leader arrived in Singapore earlier on Thursday after first flying to the Maldives. I already said that. I'm sorry for being repetitive. But it led to, in the capital, Colombo, jubilation in the streets. Delighted demonstrators greeted news with dancing. Viraja Pereira told the BBC, quote, "We are beyond happy, but also beyond relieved, so we can take a break and go back to our lives." But the crowds appeared smaller than before after the Prime Minister, acting president, imposed a fresh round of curfews on Thursday to quell protests. I think over time that's going to be a mistake. I think that's going to be a big mistake. And he's putting the first nail in his own coffin. The streets of Colombo were calmer as anti-government demonstrations began leaving some of the official buildings they had occupied. We are a spokeswoman for the protesters. That's a weird way to word it. We would say an organizer said, quote,
Yeah.
"We are peacefully withdrawing from the presidential palace, the presidential secretariat, and the prime minister's office with immediate effect, but we'll continue our struggle." I mean, that being said, there was a toll. One person died. 84 others were injured during Wednesday's protest, which took place at key landmarks around the capital, Colombo, including the prime minister's office. And they broke into the presidential palace on Saturday. They set fire to the prime minister's home. And of course, police came in with tear gas, attempting to break down the gates of the prime minister's office in Colombo before forcing their way in. They later headed for parliament, but did not get in. Wednesday saw some of the biggest demonstrations since the protests first began way back in April. And remember that these acute food shortages, right? These acute fuel shortages, this comes down to IMF loans that are at too high of an interest rate for them to pay back.
Bingo.
I can't hear you.
Must be my signal. I don't know. My mic's unmuted. I just said bingo. Fuck the IMF.
And before anybody tries to say, but China does the same thing, it's not the same thing. Instead of 10-year term loans, they're up to 50-year term loans. And instead of 7% interest, it's 2.5% interest. And they're not usually just getting a bundle of cash or anything like that. They are getting airports. They are getting high-speed rail. They are getting bridges and dams and fucking roads. They are getting factories.
Right. The loan is actually being used to build the infrastructure, not line the pockets of fucking rich, greedy assholes.
And on top of it, they pay the people that work there to fucking learn how to build this infrastructure and then do it. Whereas the IMF is like, oh, here's a couple $1 million. You're going to pay us back 20 in 10 years. And you better be on them payments. Mm-hmm. Whereas, like China's like, oh, your payment is too big. Well, maybe we'll forgive part of the loan. Or, oh, your payment's too big. Let's make the payment term longer.
Right. Stretch it out a little longer. Make the payment lower where you can afford it. Here, let's build you the infrastructure you will need to actually produce the money to pay it back.
Right. And I mean, like, I don't know. I mean, do I have some criticisms of modern China? Yeah. I think that they have let capitalism come back too much, right? But that being said, they are kind of weaponizing capitalism against capital.
Right. They're using that capitalism to build social networks, to build social programs, to make sure that people have the infrastructure to meet their fucking needs.
And according to, China's published 20-year plan put out in 2020, they intend to have a full return to socialism by 2040.
Yep, they're simply making use of a little bit of capitalism to literally build towards that. Can't blame them.
And I mean, honestly, like the relaxing a bit of the economy is, I mean, that boom, that economic boom that's still happening that lifted the entire population out of poverty, like. Yeah. I mean, it was bigger and more successful than Mao's Great Leap Forward. And I'm not trying to put down Mao or the Great Leap Forward, but I mean, President Xi is a pretty base motherfucker.
Yeah, he really is. He's actually trying to make shit better for the people and achieving that. They don't have the rampant fucking homelessness and hunger and lack of health care that we have here under fucking capitalism. People like to fucking talk shit about communist countries, talking about, oh, bread lines and blah, blah, blah. Motherfucker, do you see the fucking bread lines here under capitalism? Because they're already making a big comeback, bigger than, like, Great Depression era.
I mean,
Okay?
yeah, in my opinion, the COVID breadlines, fucking, well, food lines, whatever, rivaled the Great Depression. But I mean, we're seeing a push to bigger numbers than that.
Yep.
Natalie, I get what you're saying, and I agree, specifically on mortgages. But municipal debt is a little different, especially when it comes to debt between nations. But I mean, the point is, though, that they are willing to, take a loss rather than cripple a country. They are willing to, work out payments. I mean, like James said, they're building a bigger factory so you can pay the factory off faster. I mean, same thing with airports, same thing with high-speed rail. I mean, and high-speed rail in a lot of places, China is just fucking building it. Like, sometimes, depending on what countries we're talking about, they're not even like, charging the countries because they're going to use it for trade.
Right. I believe Afghanistan is one of the areas where they're building high-speed rail in a bartering deal, basically, because of how much that's going to open up trade with the area. I'd have to look it up because I'm drawing off memory of something we discussed a few months ago, but I believe that was Afghanistan, where they've made a trade of, here, we're going to build you high-speed rail in exchange for some mineral resources, basically, and thereby open up that fucking trade. Um, you know, it's not always a lone situation, but at least even when it is, they're doing better by them than the IMF. The IMF is like, sure, we'll give you this money so long as you let us put these fascists in power over your country. Ukraine.
Yeah. Oh my God. I'm not even going to go down that rabbit hole. There's still a lot to say. And I mean, it's bad. Honestly, it's bad all around. I mean, I feel for the people that live there and literally can't leave because they are not allowed to. They have to stay and fight.
The fascists.
I really feel for the Russian soldiers who, may not necessarily even agree with the invasion or the war or the military action or whatever the fuck you want to call it. I mean, I feel for everybody all around. It's fucking terrible.
Mm-hmm.
But that being said, also, what choice did Russia have? And the fact that CNN and fucking Fox News and the BBC are all ramming down your throat that this is an unprovoked war.
No, it's not. It's not at all.
The amount that they have to repeat that to get anybody to believe it should tell you all you need to know.
Right. I would say that the 14,000 deaths of ethnic Jews, Romani, and Russians in the and Lugansk regions is definitely inciting that. That's not non-provoked. That's fucking Nazis doing an ethnic cleansing and trying to claim, well, this is our land. Excuse me, how about we fucking rewind almost 3,000 years? Kiev was founded by the Rus. It's always been Russian.
Yeah, I mean, I will say that Kiev is older than Moscow. They have that right.
Yes. Kiev was originally the fucking capital. And it was known as Kievan Rus. Why? Because it was founded and built by the Rus. aka the Russians. So,
And then, I mean,
go ahead.
I don't like the justification that Putin is trying to use, because he's not trying to personally bring back the USSR. He's trying to bring back the Russian Empire, in my opinion. But
I think you might be on point with that. Yeah. And that is problematic.
And I mean, his treatment of minority groups, LGBTQ specifically.
He deserved the wall for that. Or better yet, quartered and drawn.
But anyway, though, the point is that they were occupied by Russia, Russia for pretty much the entire. Ukraine wasn't a state until Vladimir Lenin granted them independence and said, "Hey, you guys are your own country, part of the Soviet Union. You want your national identity? Here it is."
Right. But even then, it was still, for a huge portion of the population, a Russian identity. So for these people who are of Aryan ancestry who moved into the area later, you know,
Like
not after Lenin, but yeah, later than, you know, Kiev's actual existence. For them to try to be like, well, no, we want to do an ethnic cleansing here and get rid of all the Russians. We're going to make it illegal for you to even speak your own language, shit like that. Like, yeah, no, who gave you the privilege, motherfuckers? Like, for them to try to pretend like they are being invaded by the people who founded the entire fucking community there, it's fucking ridiculous. It's like, no, you're Germanic tribal asses, you know, and I'm talking ancient history, Germanic fucking tribes moving into the area. You don't get to tell the people who actually fucking built this area up that you're just taking it over. Sorry, no, Nazis, no. And, you know, like this racial dispute that's going on there goes back to the actual Nazi days. Okay, if you didn't know, Ukraine had its own part in the Holocaust, just like Italy did right along with Germany. These neo-Nazis have had a foothold there for the past century or more. Okay, they participated in the Holocaust. They had Jewish and Romani death camps in Ukraine. These motherfuckers never stopped being racist pieces of shit. And the reason why they are gaining a stronghold again in political power is thanks to the Obama administration in conjunction with NATO and the fucking IMF. They came together to fund the Maidan Nazi coup in 2014. They handpicked which fucking Nazis they were going to put into power. I've played the fucking audio for you guys before of the fucking call between all of these heads of state handpicking which fucking Nazis they were anointing to power to take said coup. I can grab the link and pop it in the fucking comments again for anybody who missed it that time to listen to again and understand what really popped this shit off.
And ultimately, I mean, obviously the US and NATO have wanted at Russia for a very long time, but like their excuse, the thing that made it possible for them to, you know, stage this coup is that the government that existed in Ukraine at that time was friendly with Russia.
Bingo. I'm grabbing that link right now, by the way, to go pop into the comments. Give me just a moment because I have multiple folders I need to look through to find exactly. I think it's in that one. But yeah, there is so much that goes into this that Western media is just trying to fucking ignore, downplay, or flat out fucking lie about and pretend as if, oh, this just happened. No, motherfuckers, you put it into fucking place and into action. You know, they literally chose to do this. This war that's going on there right now is directly because of the United States government, NATO governments, and the fucking International Monetary Fund.
And I mean, Russia tried every diplomatic avenue for years, while they had no choice but to stand by while ethnic Russians were being, purged in Ukraine. So they started, like funding the Russians so they could defend themselves. The Russians funding the Russians. Doesn't that sound funny? But I mean, so they could defend themselves. And then now, like, it just keeps escalating, and it's by design.
Mm-hmm. It's literally white supremacy trying to fucking grab white supremacist power again and do ethnic cleansings again.
Yeah. I'm gonna start trying to wrap this up, though. I still want to get some unpacking done and fucking shower and go to bed earlier tonight. But that being said, I want to remind everybody that the 22nd we will be having a leftist karaoke night on Twitch. I'm not sure if that's going to be on Left Signal Boost or Bread Theory, or realistically, probably both and ours.
If you go on Left Signal Boost's Facebook page, the event link is on there, as well as a list of what Zach's already got compiled for song and stuff. And if there's anything you want to sing on the list, you can submit it to the list. Like, shoot him a message on there, let him know what songs you're signing up for. Yeah, I'm glad he proposed that, brought that to the table.
Yeah.
Because we definitely need to, I don't have a night of.
Agreed. This month, we will also be getting back into our movie watch alongs for our patrons. We will also be getting back into we will be either late this month or next month, early next month. We will be doing Q&As, or maybe even just like invite a bunch of people on and have a roundtable discussion about a specific topic, or we're going to be trying to hook up the patrons. Thank you for being patient. I've been in the process of moving across the country. It's been a journey, but things will be leveling out and returning back to normal. Starting honestly, probably next week, you can start actually paying attention to the website again. But yeah, I mean, it's been a process, but we're gonna get caught up, and we're gonna stay caught up. If you have any suggestions for our next movie watch party, go ahead and drop it. And let's see, what do we got? Tomorrow, 4 Eastern, is the discussion on the Hassan Shakur education course. Wednesday at 4 Eastern is the UPM reading group. We are still working our way through George Jackson's Blood in My Eye. And then probably next month, but don't quote me on that, we're going to try to bring back our own book club. Yeah. I'm not sure what days Zach's book club pieces are, but he is currently reading, well, and Trisha's been on most of the episodes, I think. They are currently reading Howard Zinn's A People's History of the United States. So keep your eyes out for that one as well. And I mean, I guess I'll get the music ready to go. And we can wrap this up. Thank you all for joining us tonight. We will be back tomorrow at 4 Eastern and then Wednesday.
Back from the ether.
Just in time for the music.
I know, right? Oh, shit. All right, everyone. Thank you for joining us. Have an awesome night. Love, peace, fucking solidarity. All power to the people.
All power to the people.
Absolute freedom. And we're all looking for freedom. Here's what didn't matter when they sold the devil guns. Didn't matter when they played us strike. Didn't matter when they stole your mother's sons. Now everyone's out of their mind. The bullshit, these unemployment lines don't know the casuals to live in corporate crimes. To the revolution, wanting to no peace of mind. You live on the matter and the one who's more better than your grandkids here to joy. When you watch them, their reaction to every little inconvenient soul. Still a public, still a morpheus, threat to the status quo. We don't make mistakes. We have happy accidents. Just don't worry about it. Learn how to use what